Let's take a look maybe at a different approach in trying to solve this design problem. Again, sometimes you don't really know what might be the best way. So you try something out, maybe to at one point realize it wasn't really the best idea. Or maybe there could still be a better one, who knows. So for example, as you can see, I have here put down a very basic set of curves. And I try to imagine, for example, how I have to position those and build it to get kind of like the detail of Robert's design. So you see that this curve, for example, is not right on top. It is a little bit down because later I will create along the midsection another line. And I have here those lines, and you see they somewhat describe certain details. So for example, those lines here, they basically describe the lower hard edge of this part. So now I have to figure out maybe how I could create actually the surface structure. So basically this is more like a process where I build like a curved network and then start skinning the surfaces inside. So here I have a degree 3 curve. Yep, degree 3. So I'm trying to build the same by starting, for example, at the midline. And then maybe I push these points to here so I can see them easier. And then maybe now adjust those points a little bit height-wise. There. There. Okay. So you see I also have this line copied to the center, and it is a really straight line, kind of like a center part. And it's actually not. So let's correct this one first. I thought I did. Not a big deal. Select nothing, select this CV, go into an orthographic view, middle mouse button, and snap to this point. So this should be straight now. Okay, good. So now I have to figure out how, for example, I connect this curve and this curve. In this case, I think the blend curve will probably be useful. So I go to blend, blend curve, degree 5, G2, yeah, that's all fine. Go, and then click on the curve and drag to the end. One more time here, and there I have those curves. Now let's go to a side view and let's take a look at those edge roundings and see if this maybe starts to mimic kind of like the shape, and I'm getting somewhat close. Okay, good. I need to have a line there. So let's take a look at this curve. That is a degree 4. Okay, good. So degree doesn't allow me to draw a degree 4. So I'm going to simply Control-Alt, snap to the endpoint, go to the back, 1 and 2, 3 and 4, change the degrees, single span, spacebar, and then I have to adjust some of those points. Okay, and I try kind of like keep those perpendicular to each other, and then up there I will create another blend curve. Let's take a look, and yeah, It's close, but maybe at this point I rather would like to move it there, and this one I move up a little bit just to tighten it. No, maybe I just leave it there. Okay, good. So we're getting close. Now the question is, how do I create my surfaces? Those are currently just only horizontal profiles. Well, I can't really skin them. So if I go to skin and say 1, 2, and 3, I get this one. And I don't really want to put in another line in between. So nice try, doesn't work. However, a line in between, that actually could work out. So for example, I can create maybe a degree 2 curve between here and this end, this end and this end, and this end and this end, this end and this end. Also here, set this to a degree 2. Okay, and let's make a degree 3 curve here as well. Degree 2, that's what I meant. Okay, so here we have midpoint CVs, and that actually allows me to pull these points out a little bit and start arcing that curve. Now if I would skin everything, I will get a sharp edge here because this line does not flow nicely into this line. So there are different ways how I could try to deal with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm simply creating myself straight horizontal lines out. And the main reason for that is now I have to decide what type of tangency I want. So maybe I say first and decide along this edge I would like to have G1 and maybe along here G1 as well, just to start simple. And that means for each side I need an additional point, so a degree 3 is good. And then I can go to align G1 and say this side to here, for example. Perfect. This area down here is open, so I can create myself a curve. And now I have to decide how I snap or align which curve to which. Maybe we can maybe keep this one straight. So I go to align. Let's go with G1. There. Now this curve blends G1 into this curve. Great. Okay, let's save. Let's look to here. Maybe try to change this a little bit so this one is not too crazily arced. Okay. This one I keep straight. I can also put down my curves here, there, save. And then, for example, this one is going to be easy. So here actually, whoops, wrong tool, 1 and 1. Next, 1 and 1. Okay, one more time. There's the surface. And then actually now I could maybe think about using the rail command. Let's set everything to G0. So here we're going to keep a sharp edge. So I could start with this curve. This is my second generation curve, and then first rail and second rail. Okay. Let's do the same here. First rail and second rail. You see, in this case, I'm using the surface. Because I'm curious if for rail 2 we can set this already to tangent, and here it fails. Now this is going to be a tricky part, so I leave this one actually for the moment at positional. Because here we have a sharp corner and then it should round to something roundish. So that's actually a tricky thing to achieve. You can't really have a tangency there, so that was foolish of me to try to do that. Because it's a round edge and then a sharp edge. That's this way not really easy. It will, because this part will always be G0. So let's check that one. That is G0. Good. Okay, so step 2. Rail, and now we can say G1, G1. So first and second, so tangent, 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 and say first generation curve, second generation curve, here and here. Kind of silly, because only there actually we have a surface to snap to. Here, however, now generation curve, rail, and rail. There, maybe we can think about G1 and R2 to set those to tangent. Works. Okay. Next step, we can select this edge and this edge, 1 and 2. And here only, of course, this one can be tangent. Okay, let's take a look at it. And it doesn't look too shabby. So this is a pretty tricky thing, because here this is straight and then everything becomes roundish. And then let's try to see how we can fill that area. Maybe we can do that with an end-sided match. So this edge here, I'm selecting the rail surface and the rail surface. 2 and 3 I would like to be tangent. Now this is maybe not ideal case, because again the end patch tool is kind of dirty, but sometimes can work for presentation purpose. And there you see it doesn't really do a perfect job there, but all those edges along here we kept at G1, so we can't simply say this one should be G2. I don't think that's going to work. Well, we can try it. So curvature. It did it actually. Of course, it's not super clean, but okay. Well, let's maybe keep it at that level for the moment. Okay, actually, so this was not too bad. This actually was a little bit easier than even the first attempt. Now, my main problem is, how do I tackle this part? It's not really ideal that everything here is round and then there it's kind of straight. So I should have a little bit of a rounded edge here as well, but maybe change the radius drastically. So I'm going to delete all those surfaces. So also this one here should be G3, except let's go to a side view. How do I do that? Okay, that's going to be a little bit tricky. For this curve to blend in there, this whole area has to move this direction, because it can't bend around a sharp corner. So maybe this way, and let's go to align, G1, this one, to this curve, this one to this curve. And there you see already kind of like what I was talking about. So I can either move maybe, wait, no, first actually I can change this one. Tangent scale, maybe 0.02. Let's do the same here. 0.02. So I made this one to be really small. Hope this is not going to be a problem. And let's select this one. Let's go to move local, snap. I would like to move it along this direction. So how do I do that? So I have to figure out now how I could move it perfectly up. Okay, for the moment, maybe let me delete those first. Select this one and those all together. Move, maybe move it to there. Okay, and so that's kind of like the tricky part. No, maybe we will have to do a little bit of trimming on the lower part later, so I keep it there. Okay, so another helper line, another helper line, and then snap, 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 snap. Select those two curves, change the degree, and go back to align G1. There, here, and there. Oops, 0.2. Okay, let's go to side view because I want to make sure that those CVs do not stick out. And they do slightly, so I have to change maybe that angle a little bit. So I'll go to here and say maybe 0.015 and 0.015. Okay, perfect. Those CVs, if I want to, I can push over a little bit just to sharpen that corner and flatten this area. Okay, now we have pretty much the same similar layout. Actually, here I move this one back to there. Let's save. And now let's do the same again. So rail and say U to U, U. This edge rail 2 should be tangent. Okay. And then let's go to the next one. This is sharp. And then this rail, generation curve, rail, rail, and rail this way. Generation curve 1 is positional. What happens if we do curvature? Failed. So maybe might have to rebuild. Let's see. Not really an option. So for the moment, let's go tangent. and here to there. Shoops, tangent. Okay, let's take a look. Yeah, we can maybe keep it this way for the moment. And now I have to see how we do the top part. So let's go back to the rail command. So this will still be sharp. So generation curve 1 is positional. There to there, then there to there. So rail 2 can maybe be tangent. Yeah, it worked. Nice. Okay, good. And then, for example, let's go further and say this rail surface to this curve there. This Gen 1 and rail 2 should be tangent there. Okay. And now we have to fix our last part. So this one, and this one. And then 1 and 3 are tangents. Okay, awesome. So you can see we have a lot of span, so that's a little bit dense, but at least for getting an idea, this is pretty good. So here we have a really super sharp edge. So I think probably we might have to let go of that if we really want to get a nice transition and actually have a really tiny blend, kind of like we do the same like what we have here, create blend curves in between so we can make nicer transitions. This, for example, will help this area a little bit. But in general, as you can see, this actually worked out pretty well so far. No major problems. Let's take a look at the scan. And it is actually also pretty close to that shape. So as it looks, this might have been a better approach. So we could, for example, see if we can push this one out a little bit along this axis. So we bend this part. Okay, you see all those surfaces update nicely. Here, maybe push this one in a little bit more. Push this a little bit more out. But the thing that's actually nice about this model is if we go to this view and we rotate, you pay attention to how smooth that area is. It's still round and then it becomes flat. Okay, cool. Just for the sake of testing it, let's turn on the symmetry. I don't know if this actually will be working. Set, and let's do the symmetry. Let's take a look. Yeah, I assume that's probably not going to work, at least not here. Also, there's a break. But we tried to model everything somewhat clean, so the curves blend G1 to there. Same here. So if we send this one to the MakerBot, as long as we don't have major gaps, it will be okay. The only thing that in this case here looks kind of terrible is actually this face, because you can clearly see if we zoom in a little bit more, oh, there are some gaps. And that is because the surface we created just snapped straight to this line. So to fix that, we might actually simply have to help that surface command. So what I'm going to do now, I create a helper surface. So this one I extrude out, not so far, just till there. Okay, till there, perfect. Now I have 1, 2, and 3 surfaces which I could use. So let's try that one. And here we could set everything to tangent. So instead of using the surface, the curve, I use the surface edge. Same here, same there. Let's take a look. See some interesting ripples, but let's take a look. Yeah, this might work a little bit better. Now this helper surface actually, I'm going to hide for the moment, and let's turn back this one. Let's rotate. Yeah, see, that actually helped that a little bit. Good. So this process then can be continued. Now we have to only fill the lower parts. We could actually create the geometry. So we have really the left and right surfaces, and then simply with the skin command, skin the different segments. Or I could also create a new line, trim everything by creating a draft surface that's bigger. So there are multiple ways. It's pretty much a repetition of how I finished this lower part in the previous video.